All right, we're going to do 3 different applications today for inverted vehicle extrication. You have 3 very distinct choices. A lot of them are going to depend on what you have access to, what you don't have access to, and what other elements of stabilization or lifting you're going to have to incorporate. So we went through all of our stabilization and lifting sequences yesterday, where we're throwing struts on the rear end, we're building the articulating box cribs, so on and so forth, to lift the entire vehicle. If you don't have an entrapment of the individual under the roof line in any way, shape, or form, then we're not going to be lifting the overall vehicle, correct? Okay, that's going to radically change how simplistic our stabilization is. So when we approach this, we're going to focus on 4 points of contact and capturing the nose of the vehicle so that it doesn't slide or move or shift, all right? From there, you're going to figure out, do I want to open up the back end of the vehicle, or do I want to attack from the sides of the vehicle? If we're going to attack from the sides of the vehicle, we can apply all the same techniques that we apply in a vehicle when it's upright and on its 4 wheels. So we can do rip and blitzes, we can do side fold downs. You're going to do rip and blitzes in the other stations, so we're going to do fold downs. All right, when we do fold downs, we're going to attack the pin assembly on the rear door. We're going to attach the hinge assembly on the front door. We're going to open up this gap between the doors and the bottom side of the B post, and we're going to cut the B. As soon as we've done that, we basically have 2 doors and a B post that are intact at one point, right here. We're then going to pivot across that B post by putting our spreaders in here, extending our spreaders. It's going to fold all of that material down and enable us to make an interior cut on the top of the B and then remove that whole section. Sometimes spreaders are not effective. You may not have enough throw to actually get access to the interior or the bottom side of that B. In those applications, we can take a chain hoist and a chain, put that assembly around the B post, underneath that hinge or around just above that hinge, attach it to an anchor and start hauling. And then as we haul or ratchet that chain assembly, it's going to fold down that mechanism. So we're going to do both those applications from a side out perspective or a fold down. Everybody with me on the side components? Now, once you've got the side removed, if your victim is still restrained in their seatbelt and in the seat and they're hanging upside down, one of the challenging things about reclining that seat back and doing that sandwich technique to remove them effectively is their orientation. A lot of times their heads are resting on the roof line. You may have some compression on that roof, and that roof may have been either racked backwards or laterally, one of the two, okay? So if you have that condition, then you're going to want to open up this passenger compartment. When you go to open up this passenger compartment, we're going to throw hydraulic rams in from the roof line to the rocker, and we're going to open this up. That's an easier approach than making the additional cuts around the A post and doing, in essence, a dash lift or a floor lift. Everybody follow that? The other thing that's going to gain you is it's going to give you access right where their head is predominantly going to be located at. They're typically not going to be compressed up in this area. It's the roof line that's compressed, not the dash assembly that's pushed in on it. Everybody see the differences? Okay. Any questions about your side applications? All right. The rear application involves some analysis of your underbody or your undercarriage. So you got to look at your frame system. Remember, we've talked about how we have frame and chassis, or we have unibodies. Unibodies oftentimes are in segments. So you have a section of frame that supports the engine and the front axle, a section of frame that supports the rear axle, and a section of frame that supports the passenger compartment. Where those systems naturally divide is typically weak points within that overall frame system. When we're doing a rear access, it implies that we've got like a jersey barrier on this side and a vehicle on that side. We don't have access to the sides, and we don't want to go in through tunneling operations, okay? We really want to open this up to manage it. So we're going to come onto the undercarriage, we're going to create a fulcrum with cribbing, and there's rules to that about break points. Once we've got those fulcrums created, we're going to place them right at those inherent weak points on the frame. If we don't have inherent separations on the frame, then we need to cut the frame rails right behind the B posts. We're going to leave the B posts intact, and the only other cuts we're going to make are on the C posts. So you approach the vehicle, you get your cribbing built, you get a chain assembly and a chain hoist in place that goes from the nose of the vehicle to the rear of the vehicle and runs across the top of the cribbing. You make your relief cuts on your frames right where that cribbing's going to go, and then you cut your C-posts. As soon as all that's segmented, you start cranking on your chain hoist, and what's it do? It folds that rear axle right up towards that front axle, opens up the whole back side of the car, and you can walk in, walk out, do whatever you need to do to get to those victims. Okay? When you build this cribbing fulcrum, you don't want to exceed about 4 crib pieces high with 4x4 dimensional cribbing. The objective is when we start pulling and that chain contacts the top of that cribbing, it's going to cause that cribbing column to do this. It's going to articulate. What you're trying to do is right before that cribbing is going to kick out because of the articulation, you want that chain to have become almost straight. Everybody follow that? So initially you got a big V on your chain assembly, your cribbing's like this, you start hauling, chain's flattening out, cribbing's articulating. If you go about 4 high, then right at that break point when it's going to kick, the rear end is up, the chain is straight, and we don't have any drop of the rear end when that cribbing goes. That cribbing more or less just kind of falls out of place. Everybody follow that? Okay. So, for you guys' objective, we're going to start with the fold down because we want that B-post to be intact. We're going to attack that white car. We're going to go over there. We're going to talk about the frame component a little bit and where you're going to make your cuts. We're going to cut that C. We're going to have our 4 points of contact in place, nose stabilized, cut the C, cut the frame rails, build our cribbing column, rig in our chain hoist and our chain, and start folding that rear axle over. Once we get that open up and over, then we're going to dump the hinges on the front door. We're going to cut the bottom of the B, which is in essence the top of the B, and then we're going to do a spreader expansion on one side. We're going to do a chain hoist expansion on the other side. Everybody good with the objectives? Okay, let's go talk about this white car.